Law Talk with Nick Maruchak, thanks to MKI Legal, your trusted employment and family lawyers.
I fought the law and the law won. I fought the law and the law won.
Nick Maruchak, 133 The lines are already filling up. That's impressive. Okay, people know you now. You've got a reputation.
Oh, thank you, Chris. I don't think so.
All right, so anything you want to talk about in the legal field, team, Nick will do his very best to use his skills and his knowledge of many, many years to help you out here. 133 He's got a list of things himself he wants to talk about, but Dave has been patiently waiting, so let's get into him first. Dave, hello, tell us your story. G'day, Dave.
Yeah, hello.
Hey, mate. What's your story?
Right. I'm ringing up on behalf of my son. His lovely wife walked out on him, and when she filled out her child support, she put the wrong date and zero access to their daughter, and he has her on after school and on the weekends. And he rang up the child support, and they virtually said they can't do nothing about it. So it's too sad, too bad. All he's got to do is keep a diary when he has her. And, yeah.
And then what?
Well,
Why do you keep a diary?
The diary will be because when the child support agency run through Services Australia determines child support, they look at the number of children and they look at the taxable income and level of care each parent provides, right? So so the idea behind the child support is to offset the cost of children. So how many nights per week the child spends with you is an important factor. So the normal kind of process here is you want to give them a call and you want to request a review. So you want to try and do a formal review within Services Australia to see if they could review their decision and give them some further information. There is also a few other options available. You can also go through a process to actually change the assessment. So if you've got an assessment and special circumstances arise, such as someone's reduced their income or the cost of raising children are higher or the nights per week you spent with each child changes, then you can also apply for a review only in special circumstances. So that's different to the formal objection review that's done internally. So there's a few things you can go through internally and you want to find out more about that process. And then if all else fails and you want to go nuclear, then you have to go to the Administrative Appeals Tribunal, and that's where it's a Commonwealth tribunal similar to SAT, and that's where you argue. So
that was why when I say, and what do they do? I was actually being a little bit sarcastic. Sorry about that, Dave, because I've been through this procedure and I put something in back in March and it's August now, and I'm still waiting for someone to tell me that what I know is right, and I've got all this diarised stuff here. They still haven't, they made their decision. So for the last, I think, 5 months, we've been receiving less money than we should do for one of the kids. And no, they'll get around to it when they get around to it. Maybe when the child's turned 18 and moving out of home. Yeah,
and that's right. It's bureaucracy, right? Everything takes time. But the thing is gathering the evidence, right? So you want to try and get, the diary notes are one evidence. You got tax returns, pay slips, school records, anything you can any documents that you can gather to support your version of events is a good start, and that's always going to be stronger than just your word. So it's going to take time, but that's the process. And child support's pretty serious stuff because if you don't pay it, they can come after you and all that kind of stuff. So and she'll have to pay it back if she's been found to be fraudulent, Dave. So eventually it might take a couple of years, but she will be paying it back. Thank you so much for taking time and giving us a yell today. 133 At least you do still have contact with your child, which is a fantastic thing. There's many people who aren't in that situation. You can text us 0487 999 882, but I give us a yell now, 133 Mr. M, you've got a list of things that you wanted to have a quick chat about that people have raised. Do you want to jump into the deep end, let's say, for the first one? So there's a caller from last week. Hello, Dylan. We didn't get a chance to talk about Dylan's case, and I tried to call him, couldn't get through. So hopefully Dylan's listening right now. Okay. But basically what happened last week is that Dylan went to a public pool, not going to name them. He jumped in and he hurt himself. And he says that the pool didn't have these markings to signal a sudden depth of the depth of the pool. So So basically, I just want to kind of reach out to Dylan and let him know. So if public pool operators have to follow a requirement under the legislation where all the pools have to follow this code of practice for aquatic facilities, right? You have to have contrasting colour depth markers, you have to have signs, and this was all required to be installed by October 2009. So if this public operator didn't have these signs, that's a serious issue, right? But then it comes down to what he can do about it. So the basic, if you're injured in a public pool, they have everyone who owns a premises has a duty to take care to prevent injury to the people that come inside the facility. The question is, did they breach their duty of care? So if they didn't follow these requirements under the code of practice for aquatic facilities, that could be a sign that they didn't breach their duty of care. And then the question is, does Dylan have a claim? So these are the just important issues I want to highlight. If you're engaging in a recreational activity like going to a pool, and if the operator actually gives you a warning sign saying like, don't dive in, or shallow water, then potentially that's enough to discharge their obligation, even though they may have not fully complied with the act, right? So that's one thing. But then the second thing is this, and this is something everyone should be aware of, where the insurance industry in 2002 passed this law. I reckon they lobbied the government. It's called the Civil Liabilities Act. And it basically says that if you suffer pain and suffering, right? If you're injured, so if Dylan jumps in, hit his pool, say he's got a claim, and if his pain and suffering is less than a certain threshold, he gets nothing for it. So the threshold's around $20,000, right? So you can still recover your lost income and your medical expenses. That's still covered. But, if you just hurt yourself, you bump your head, and you go, how much does a bump on the head cost, right? That might be $5,000, 10 grand. Automatically gets reduced to zero. Your bump of the head remedy is zero.
Oh, so you have to go OTT.
So you have to prove that it's worth.
You have to be like a soccer player.
You have to prove that your injury to your head, bump of the head, is more than 20 grand, right?
Oh,
otherwise,
okay.
it's a zero. And the insurance companies pass this so they don't get these, a whole series of small claims. So in Dylan's case, if it's just bump the head, and you didn't actually lose any income, say you didn't chuck a sickie or anything like that, you didn't have any medical expenses, you claim nothing. So that's just something to be aware of.
Oh, good grief. Good luck there for you, Dylan. We hope it wasn't anything major. Maybe just speaking to the people who run the pool and saying, hey, this bit of info was missing. Let's make sure no one else suffers from the same problem that I just have. All right, Marie is online, 133 882. How can the great lawyer help you, Marie?
I'll try and make this as quick as I can, but it's quite involved.
Okay.
Long story short, I had my car booked in for a 90,000 K service, and I'd had quite a few phone calls requesting this because it was still with the people that I normally go to, which is the maker of the car. I don't know if I can say who that is. Anyway, what happened was I asked for a quote, which they gave me, and I turn up there. And I emailed them for the quote, so they knew all my particulars and everything. And they said, no, it won't be a 90,000 one. It'll be 120,000 K, which was about $150 more. Something to do with, even though I've done 90,000, something to do with time, depending on the time, or I couldn't quite understand. And had I known that, I could have gone to a friend who would have done it a lot cheaper. So I feel like I've been misled there, and the fact that they waited until I actually got there after being dropped off to organise lifts, not very happy.
Okay, so how did they mislead you specifically? Did they did you do the quote online, or did you do it before you came in? And then what was the little bait and switch they did?
They emailed me to say that it was due for a service, so they had my registration number there. So I said, well, how much is it for the 90,000 kilometre service, which was on, the top of the car? Yeah. And they said, $454. So I thought, well, that seems okay.
Did they say it, or did they send it to you in writing, Marie?
No, they sent it. No, they sent it to me in writing.
Well, we like that. We're smiling.
But when I got there, the receptionist said, oh, no, it's now 580, and that's without any of the extras, which I understand, if they find something. I said, well, why is it more? She said, because something to do with, I still don't understand the time. Obviously, I didn't do it on a yearly basis, but I said, but I haven't done 120,000 Ks. I've only done 90,000 Ks. But they just gave me some excuse, something to do with, whatever comes first. I don't really understand what they mean.
Yeah, so I'll give you the quick rundown. First is you're looking at the contract, right? So if they've sent you this offer of doing this service for $450 and you've accepted it, then you have to have a look at the terms of the contract. So have a look at that.
They just gave me some excuse, something to do with, whatever comes first. I don't really understand what they mean.
Yeah, so I'll give you the quick rundown. First is you're looking at the contract, right? So if they've sent you this offer of doing this service for $450 and you've accepted it, then you have to have a look at the terms of the contract. So have a look at that email, see if there's any exclusions or any clauses that allows them to get out of it and change it. If there isn't, then there's arguable that they've got a contract. You've got a contract in place here. It's a binding contract. They have to honour it. The alternative is if they've misled you and lied to you and made a false representation, then you can argue misleading and deceptive conduct. So so those are the two things you can go to them and try and force them to either give back the difference or to honour the $450. Otherwise, consumer protection is where I'll go.
Yeah, so consumer protection.
Yeah,
Wander
try
down.
that.
Wander down there and try that one. We're loving your talkback calls, 133 882. We're going to go to a break and let Nick have a little bit of a chance just to regroup. There's some great calls coming in. You're listening to 882 6PR. It's 15 minutes to 11. 13 minutes to 11 on 882 6PR. Anthony, Veronica and Robert, we are going to do our very best to get through you with 8 minutes of the legal best advice. Anthony, you're first up.
Yeah, good morning, guys. How are you?
Really well, mate. What can we help you with?
Just wanted to get your advice in regards to a front verge. We've got a tenant that lives next door, gets his lawns mowed. The lawnmower guy has cut through the retic on my side of the lawn and obviously has not said anything. We've gone to get it turned on now just for spring to get it checked, and it's blocked up the whole line being cut for so long. It's been seen and caught on CCTV. Who's responsible for that? Is it the strata company that needs to get the person to pay, the property manager, or is it the person himself? But even though we can't get his details, who do we get to make them responsible for damaging the particular sprinkler that's been caught on CCTV?
So the person who actually damaged it would be potentially responsible primarily. Then the next question is, so you want to try and, that person is liable first. Then the next question is, can the strata company be responsible for damage done by the worker? I don't know off the top of my head, so what I can do, Anthony, is I can give you a call back because there is a potential argument that there might be. So I would say try the strata company and say that they engaged with the contractor. That contractor was careless. So there's an argument that they might be responsible. They might also have insurance as well. So they will have insurance that might even cover this. So if they kind of accept it straight away, then that's problem solved. So try strata company first. Then I'm happy to have a quick chat to you just to go over the legislation to see if there's anything specifically in there that makes a strata company liable. If they are, then you can go to the State Administrative Tribunal if they refuse to pay. So if I just grab your details, I can send you a quick email, give you a quick call just to kind of give you that answer. It'll be under the Strata Titles Act.
Good on you, Anthony. Veronica, you're next up online. Sorry, we're barreling through.
Oh, good morning.
Hi, how can Nick help you?
I have in front of me an option agreement terms for to buy my property and a few other landholders along Mandurah Road. And I'm happy to sign, but then I thought they give the option period 36 months, 3 years for the developer to get all his money and whatever they do organised. And then the purchase price, they don't give a time limit. And I don't want in 3 years' time them to say, oh, you'll have to wait 20 years for your money, you know.
Yeah.
Because it's a big lot.
So, Veronica, an option is basically a right that this developer has to purchase your property, so they can exercise that option. So what that means is they have the right to buy it or not buy it, right? So that should usually in these contracts, there's an option period, which means that you actually specify how long the option is open for. And so that's the first thing. If it's not in there, then that could be a little bit more complicated, and the law could actually imply things like a reasonable period of time. It gets a lot more complicated, but I'll be very surprised if that isn't in there. So what I recommend is before you sign that, you probably should definitely just speak to a property lawyer, because it's high stakes. If you sign it and you're not comfortable with it, then they can actually enforce it. They can go and force you to sell the house to them at that predetermined price. So it's just high stakes. It's involving your family home. This is something that I would speak to a lawyer, property lawyer. And very difficult for me to kind of give you that advice without having a look at it.
Don't be bullied, Veronica.
No.
Do not be bullied. Robert, you're going to be our last call for, or maybe. Let's see how we go. Hi, Robert.
Hey, how you going? Quick question, that's all.
Go for it.
Hello?
Yep.
Yeah, so I damaged my shoulder on a work site 2 years ago, so I've been getting physio under workers' compensation. The insurance company just called me yesterday out the blue after 3 months, no calling at all, and saying they want to pay me out. I'm just wondering, it's got a 12-millimetre tear. It's struggled to sleep at night for the last year and a half because I just can't roll on that side now. It's up to $40,000. I'm just wondering, is it worth taking that, or am I leaving myself short?
Well, so I have got, with workers' compensation, you can, there's a lot of lawyers that will work no win, no fee. So have you tried speaking to a workers' compensation lawyer? Because that's what I'd recommend. The system's set up in a way where they will get paid by the insurance company. So generally, if you pick the right place, you're not out of pocket. There are a lot of good providers like Peninsula, or you can go to Shine, or Stephen Brown. So these are some options that I would try. So for me to say whether you should take that or not, it's best to actually speak to a workers' comp lawyer. They will often give you a free meeting for 1 hour. Okay. So just go into them, speak to someone who does this day in, day out, and just see if it's a good offer. So that's what I'd recommend in your case, because it's you're taking a bit of a risk if you sign it. Because if you sign it, you can't change your mind. That's it.
You're done. Don't sign, Robert. All right, we've got time for some advice from Martin. Martin, in 2 minutes or less, you've had the same servicing issue that our first caller did, and you think you can add some intelligence to the discussion. Go ahead.
I really like that.
Yes, I'll be quick. So how it works is, let's say, for instance, that you buy a new car. So normally, like I've just bought a new Triton, the first service, there's a $1,000 service where they just look through it, and then there's a 15,000-kilometre service. Now, let's say you buy the car, you have the first one done, and then you take it and you park it in the garage. And 2 years later, you book it in for a service again. So you don't take it for the 50,000K. They won't do the 50,000-kilometre service. They'll do probably the 40,000 or 30,000, because there are things that deteriorate over time, not necessarily the kilometres. So that's why they have to look at the time that you've had the car and when the last service was done.
Yeah.
That's why they either look at the kilometres or how long since the car has been serviced.
Yes. And I agree with that, Martin. So it comes down to that will be all in terms and conditions, and it's probably industry practice as well. So if that's the case, and there's a very good chance they may not have misled. So thank you, Martin, for that. And
the text line is actually running hot on that one. So I think your original bit of advice to our caller to go and speak to Consumer Protection.
Yeah, if they misled you. So have a look at the terms of the contract. When they emailed the person, they would have. There would have been terms in that email, often like buried deep. So have a look at that to see if they did mislead. So and if there's clear in the terms, it may not have been misleading.
All right, Nick, our fabulous lawyer. Right. Where can we find you when you're not in here with us?
Oh, we're at MKI Legal. So if you go to Perth Employment Lawyers or familylawrassist.com.au, they're the two areas we practice in. So employment and family law, they're bread and butter.
Good on you, It's great to have you in here in the program, and you'll be back next week.
Yep.
Good on you, Nick Maruchek. Don't say it for me just once. Say it with your accent.
Maruchek,
Nick Maruchek, our legal eagle here. Actually, we're going to keep up with the legal conversation coming up after the news. I'll tell you more in a moment.